Next program that I want to talk about is the Georgia Bulldogs. The Georgia Bulldogs are number 2 in my 134, RJ Young's Ultimate 134, if you will, over at foxsports.com. And it's easy to forgive Kirby Smart if he pulls up to Mercedes-Benz against Clemson on August 31st in number 26 Wonder Bread Chevy and steps out of the cup car going, here's the deal, I'm the best there is. I step out of the car, I piss excellence, because that's just what they have been basically since 2017. Kirby Smart won 2 national championships, and they were back-to-back. Missed out on the opportunity to win a third with a loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game last year, and that has grated, I'm sure, on Georgia football fans' nerves because they believe that they were one of the 4 best teams in college football last year. They're also loaded. They're loaded with 14 returning starters from last year's squad. I'm already hearing people comparing Oscar Delp to Brock Bowers. I would need to see it, because Brock Bowers was the best tight end in football for the last 3 years, and I would love to see what Oscar can do with that. I also believe that the tight end room in 2021 may be one of the best on talent that we've ever seen, with Bowers, Darnell Washington. I love that. I love knowing what that room was like, and that nobody in that room was mad about touches or no touches. They all wanted to win. They have a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback in Carson Beck. Completed 72% of his passes last year, threw for 3,941 yards. Was outstanding as an SEC quarterback and might be the best quarterback in the best league in the country for me in the SEC. They also got a lot more talented through recruiting as well. Like, I'm looking at this, and you might have a Butkus Award winner, which would give you your second in 4 years in Smile London. You've got KJ Bolden, who I think could be as exciting a true freshman at safety as Caleb Downs was last year. You have Ellis Robinson IV, who I think is going to play significant snaps, might be the most talented freshman they had at UGA since Keely Ringo. And if there's a weakness on this UGA team, it's at a place and a position that has been marked by strength in the Smart era, and that's defensive tackle, particularly interior defensive line. Nazir Stackhouse is UGA's best interior defender for me. He started every game last year, but notched just 2 sacks 2023. I know sacks is not necessarily a great stat for interior defensive linemen to grade them on, but I put a lot of stock into the guy that's playing the nose for Kirby Smart, because the guy playing the nose allows everybody else to play fast and free because he's demanding double teams, right? Which means you can get one-on-ones for your smaller, faster guys on the outside, or your more powerful guys against guards on the inside. And outside of him, you're probably going to need Warren Brinson to take the leap. But they're capable of this, obviously. I have them ranked at number 2. The thing that I think should worry Georgia fans, if they are indeed feel like worrying, has the off-the-field issues somehow affected how they're going to play on the field. You'll know that more than 24 players have had driving-related charges since January 2023, which was the last event where we saw Devin Willock and Chandler LaCroix tragically pass because dudes was out here racing. I want to see that nipped in the bud. Please don't be stupid behind the wheel. Do not drink and drive. Every car is fast, and EVs are faster. You don't need to do this. And I think we're talking about this because it doesn't feel good, right? The question that comes up over the top of all this is this the beginning and the end? I don't think it is, but I would like to see all this get kiboshed, right? So beat Clemson, right? Beat Clemson by a considerable amount. And then you're talking about playing at Texas. And I think that's the next big game on the schedule. They got Alabama, they got Texas. It could be rough for Georgia. But if anybody is capable of running through their schedule and ending up in the SEC championship game, it's that program. And I think the program that they're most likely to see in the SEC championship is actually Texas. I made this segment a couple weeks ago about Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC championship, and I think the headline led people to believe that I'm picking Oklahoma and Texas as the SEC championship contenders. I said, no, I would like to see it. and I have all this other data to show that Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia, Alabama are much more likely to be there with a Texas than Oklahoma. But these rankings also reflect who I think is going to win the national championship or has the best opportunity to win the national championship. And Texas is right there. 2024 Longhorns 100% got a recipe to win a national championship. They're on the precipice of becoming great. Like, as we're talking through my 134 and we go back over the criteria that I'm using to identify these programs, strength of schedule, recruiting, coaching continuity, do you have a starting quarterback who's returning? How did you do in the transfer portal? How did you do in your recruiting class? They check all the boxes. They check them all. Steve Sarkisian is back. He's got all 4 coordinators back. Or, 3 coordinators back. He's got, my goodness, he's got Quinn Ewers at quarterback. I know they lost C.J. Baxter, but they're talented as hell at tailback. They got better at wide receiver. They got better at tight end. We'll see if they got better in pass defense, but they got what I think is a rising star. One of those guys that I think is going to break out in Trey Moore, who broke out at UTSA, who had more sacks and tackles for loss than Marcus Davenport did the year that Marcus Davenport got drafted out of UTSA in the first round. They got dudes. Ethan Burke is over there as well. Their 2 deep is as good as any in the country. As a matter of fact, I think if it's not Georgia, it's Texas playing Ohio State in the national championship game, the way I see this. So under Sark, the Longhorns have gone from 5 wins in 2021, 8 wins in 2022, to 12 wins last year in their first conference championship since 2009. Adding Isaiah Bond, I don't think is the big boost that people think it is. That's a guy who had 48 catches for 668 yards last year, including the He Is Risen catch in the 2023 Iron Bowl. But the pass game was not a particular strength for Alabama last year, and it might be a strength for Texas this year, but a lot of that is, can Quinn Ewers stay healthy? He has not played a full season without missing at least a game due to injury yet. I'd like to see that change for him. Peep game also on the Texas front. But I took a look at total revenue according to USA Today among university athletic departments, right? And come to find out that at number 1, Ohio State sits alone, $251.6 million, according to them. Not my numbers, their numbers. $239 million for Texas, $214 million for Alabama, $210 for Michigan, and $203 for Georgia. Of those 5 university programs that I have just listed, Texas is the only one that hasn't won a national championship in the college football playoff era. And nobody knows that better than the folks that are on the 40 acres. They need to win one. I don't think they have the urgency to win this year that Ohio State does, but it's getting close, right? You're coming into a period where you can break through and become, frankly, what Michigan became the last 3 years, and you can do it without cheating. I think that this is one of the coolest times to be a Texas fan if you are one, as you're going into true SEC play with only 3 true SEC road games against Ole Miss, LSU, and Alabama. I think all 3 of those teams are going to be ranked when you play them, and I think all 3 of those teams can feature in the SEC championship. So you're going to have that, but you also have this, that you have won all 7 of your last 7 road games. This is important because they go up to Ann Arbor to play Michigan in what is going to be one of the biggest non-conference games to shape the college football playoff national title race, and frankly that at-large race that's on the calendar this year. But the only thing that prevents Texas, and for that matter I think Oklahoma, from making the SEC championship and winning it, is that they would be the first, right? They would be the first of their kind. Since the conference has moved to an SEC championship game in the early 1990s, no new member of the SEC has ever won the SEC conference championship game. Not Texas, Oklahoma, obviously, not Missouri, not A&M, not Arkansas, not South Carolina, no one. So they would be the first. They would be pioneers in this way if they could go get this done.